Good. Yep.
(7:01) on June 19th. I'd like to call the regular scheduled planning and zoning meeting for the town of Allentown to order. Members present: Scott Davidson,
Steve Stefanski, Andrew Couch.
and Juliet Hodge is online, and so is John. We'll see both Juliet and the only thing I'd like to do is move citizens' comments to after the public hearing.
Make a motion to move
Citizens,
citizens' comments till after the public hearing. I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Shoot. 2 minutes for May 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I wasn't here. Juliet, you were here, correct?
Yeah, I can make a motion to approve them as written.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next would be, this was the agenda, nothing. Okay. Public hearing. Are you a citizen or are you gonna be,
Resident of Fort Hill Road.
okay, and we have no representation from.
Unless John's representation.
Supposed to be representing Tamarack?
There's nobody there representing Tamarack?
Not at all.
No, I'm certainly not representing them. I could note, Taylor, you had extensive correspondence with Pam.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they were aware that they had to be here.
Um,
Do I open it? I mean, I definitely kind of already opened it, right?
yeah, I think
I have to.
it's probably best to open it and, I would say essentially immediately continue to the next meeting.
Okay, so it was
Unless,
posted.
unless some member of the public is there,
We have one member of the public, so let me open it and we'll let him speak and move forward. All right, so on June 7th and June 14th, it was published in the days, in North Poland?
Yep.
Okay. For today's public hearing. For Tamarack Lodge and Glamping Resort, 2110 Rod Road, special permit application for purpose of the expansion of the park food. Since they're not here to present, I mean, have you seen?
I've seen the expansion. I've seen that they proposed to put an entrance and exit on Fort Hill. Which
Okay. So, I mean, just let them speak at this point, John?
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to have a presentation presenting a background of what's happening. I'll put the map that was submitted on the screen so you can sort of see what's going on. But I certainly don't want to represent their.
Is this the only map that was received?
And a detail of the driveway location. But yeah.
But no
Taylor,
site plan signed by or sealed by any
No,
professionals?
No, and we referenced the site plan standards several times and yeah, this is what we have so far.
I don't even know what this is showing.
Well, yeah, it'd be nice to have some background. I can say, that what they are doing, I don't know their full plans, but they have been clearing and grading this portion of the land to the, do I even have a north arrow on here? I guess that's to the west, near Fort Hill Road. Right now their primary entrance is on 10 Rod Road, right over here. They were clearing basically an overflow parking area and looking to do a curb cut an exit out onto Forge Hill Road, where it roughly says new lot. That's, I believe, parking lot, not a building lot. But
Oh.
again, you know, I don't have a lot of the specifics on how this all fits into their operations.
And what use are they approved under?
I mean, they're existing, they're sort of grandfathered under a number of categories. I had written a note to Pam Potemry, the head of Tamarack, back in September or October of last year, basically saying, you know, they have essentially a sort of a campground and an educational facility and you know,
Event center?
events, and each of those things is separately a special permit use. You know, but whether they actually have an existing permit, I don't think they do. Taylor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything in the file
For currently,
for Tamarack, like prior approval, prior special permit approvals.
yeah, I haven't checked their special permit history, but besides what we have in what they filed last month for a driveway and for the special permit.
Right,
I don't
right.
think-
So
Yeah, but I can double check them.
so I think all this stuff sort of happened, you know, historically, and so it's basically considered existing special permit conforming. So any, you know, change or expansion would need a new special permit.
Right, but don't we have to know what use what regs we're applying? I mean, there are regs for campgrounds, there are regs for special events. That's what was confusing me trying to review it.
Yeah,
Like which
Um,
regulations apply and how do you modify a special permit that doesn't exist?
right. Well, ideally with a full site plan describing what's going on and
Okay.
seeing if it is appropriate. But yeah, without.
And they were contacted and told they needed that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, that's Scott, that's all we've got really.
That's
in
fine.
terms
We
of-
actually
So
have
if you want to hear from the public, that's fine.
5 residents that are here, so, I think we should hear from them if they have any comments. I think we need to address a lot of issues with,
Right, you should hear the public. You can always deny the application if it's not complete, you know, eventually.
we need to hear from the public. Just please state your name and address.
Yeah, Tim Alexander, 88 Forge Hill Road. I mean, first of all, the buffer that is in zoning, there should be, if it's a campground, there should be at least 100-foot buffer all the way around, including the other residents, correct? So
I have not.
yeah, so if you read the zoning, so you should research it, but they've cleared more than that to the property owners. There's less than 100 feet, so that should be measured. And then the natural buffer for the music that they play is gone now, so that goes across that whole parking lot. Also, we oppose an entrance or exit. They've had that entrance and exit there for 60 years since that place has been there. It controls the flow of traffic. You come out to a stop sign, you put an entrance or exit on Forge Hill Road. Not only do you have the boat ramp traffic in the summer, there's no stop sign coming up the hill. We already have an issue with traffic up and down there. So that's our reason for opposing.
Just gonna be getting replaced too here shortly.
What?
Yeah, and the Pedestrian Club.
2 years.
Yeah.
You know, they cite awkward in their letter that they sent to their residents that, you know, they didn't even personally address. They addressed current resident, which I find unneighborly.
Yeah.
But awkward, so definition of awkward, lacking the right proportion, size, or harmony, right? That driveway that they have now isn't lacking anything. It's worked for 60 years. It controls the flow of traffic. So I don't see a need. It'll just create more issues.
So. Anybody else would like to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is Adebayo.
7440 road. Next to the Tamarack Lodge.
Yep.
I see, if you are at the bottom left corner right there.
Okay.
Time to the Tamarack Lodges, let me show you. Right here. Okay, is that correct?
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
from the clearing, yeah.
So you can see the Tamarack Lodge sign from coming from there. So you probably don't need another entrance over there. You can see it from there. This is a fast flowing, I'll tell you, this is a fast flowing road, 4G road. The issue is that there is no need for that entrance. Park where they just cleared for parking. You understand what I'm saying?
I was just saying.
So just parking, not.
I mean, we have kids that, my son rides his bike all the time, now I have as an entrant that's gonna be there, never mind. I've worked at the Tamarack Special Events and Security in that parking lot, there's all kinds of drinking going on in the parking lot, so now you're gonna have, you know, people who are drinking leaving that area with our kids going up and down the road on bikes, it's just, it's not good for our community. You know, the purpose of zoning, it says, I believe in the second paragraph, to lessen congestion in the streets. This isn't gonna lessen congestion in the streets. So if you let it go, you're going against the whole purpose of the zoning regulations.
Don't get me wrong, they're nice people. Okay, because we met them. But we just wanna make sure that it's good for them if the neighbors cooperate together. But they play really loud music, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's my main thing.
That-
And before they cleared, yeah, the sound buffer, but now it's clear, I can just hear everything. And I work third shift, so like it's hard to sleep. And then my little one. Yeah, I would be lying if I said it didn't wake him up a couple of times.
They're nice people, but
Yeah,
but
nothing against
they
some, but
do
it's
they
just,
do that good with good parking and all that, and we made that entrance. It would be nice, but they did a lot of clearing that. Which used to be like a sound barrier,
yeah, sounds
buffer.
good, but yeah, it's all gone
It's
now.
all gone now.
Too much, yeah.
I mean, they've been grandfathered in, that's great, but we're in a rural district, right? So you have a commercial property that's been grandfathered in a rural district. And it's what they're doing, it just doesn't fit within the community.
If I understood John right, because they're making a change, that part, this is not grandfathered, this is a change, it is required.
Yeah.
Change to
Yeah.
the special permit,
Yeah, I'm just saying all the stuff that's happened in the past.
because they're making it more,
Right, yeah.
basically, they're making it more non-compliant.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be bringing it up to conformance if they're gonna modify.
Right, they're not necessarily because it's not non-conforming, it's just not historically fully permitted and fully vetted in term, but it's an existing allowable use, because everything that they do there is a special permit use. The events, the school, the campgrounds is all special permit uses. It just doesn't have that historical documentation of the full permitting. So it would be considered pre-existing but conforming, and obviously would any change would need to conform with the intent and content of the zoning regulations.
And the commission could ask that they bring up the buffering to the current standards, et cetera, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
And
again,
did they give any sightline information on the Forge Hill Road? Is it Forge Hill Road?
Yeah, no, I don't believe we saw any kind of sightline.
There's not a lot of sightline on it.
No.
Yeah, I was wondering where that curve, if it curved off there, how much room,
Yeah.
how many feet that was?
If I didn't say like, we have no information to what, it says new lot.
The setbacks are on the back page,
They, well,
or if you turn the page, yes.
But that's not sightline.
What did you say there?
No,
Oh,
or-
that's, okay, all right.
Yeah,
So that's their limits of clearing what they're proposing, but that's all we have.
Yeah.
Or. Because it's given for feed. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I would want to see what is the parking lot made out of? Can a fire truck get in there? Is there enough of a turning radius? You know, all that kind of stuff is missing here.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we went out there, it's primarily, it's not paved, it's primarily gravel. The overflow parking is like sort of gravel and wood chips.
Any lighting?
None was there at the time. I don't believe they're proposing any. I think it was mostly for daytime events, but again, I don't want to go on the record as representing what their intent is. We, you know, it's secondhand.
So,
Parking area. And.
They need a proper site plan, and they showed proof that they gave notice to their abutters?
yeah, we,
Did we get a copy of their information about a butter notification?
and they had a sign out.
Right, but did they send the notice?
They sent the letter on June 4th, well after the clearing had been done.
Okay.
So if there are if there are no other members of the public, Mr. Chair, I would just recommend that you,
I think we just need to table it till next month.
yeah, continue it until the July meeting.
Want to give the date and time?
July meeting would be the 17th at 7.
7 PM at the town hall?
So was it started previously?
Well, I, well, I appreciate your concerns. Themselves to present the stuff. Question.
Yeah.
By that date next month, we have to give them an answer, yes or no. So there'll be another meeting, July 17th,
Same time, 7 o'clock, third Wednesday.
You know. Unfortunately, they're not here, so there will be no answer.
That would default.
You guys mind speaking up a little bit? It's really hard to hear you and I can't even read your lips because I can't see you.
Just saying, without the Tamarack representatives here, you think that would be a default on their part, and this wouldn't be able to pass? I mean, how does that usually work?
We have 60 days to keep this open.
I mean, it's kind of up to you. Like they did not show up. You'd be within your rights to close the hearing and deny it for insufficient information, but you still have a window of opportunity in the public hearing time frame. So,
right.
You know, it's really no skin off your teeth if you just continue it and give them the opportunity within their timeframes to explain and justify their proposal.
John, can I ask you a quick question? So I know this was on the agenda 2 months ago. And did they show up last month to present their application, or did they just hand it to you and walk away?
They submitted the application, which was, again, because it's a special permit, the only thing you could do last month was receive it and schedule the hearing. So they did not.
But they didn't attend that hearing either.
I don't believe they were there.
No,
This is 3 months of them not showing.
So it's past the 60 days.
Well,
Oh, it's
no,
when they
because
apply.
we didn't receive it until last month. So the clock starts off then. And there's some timeframes that they can move around, they can give us permission to give them extension. Spend some money into this. Which,
Yeah, and that's fine, they have the parking, but to have the entrance and exit, I mean.
That is the main issue for most people in that street.
I mean, if you guys are all locals, you know that what the traffic.
And for us, it's the noise. The buffers, the trees and leaves that buffer it.
wait, what is,
Have you closed the public hearing or postponed it because people are still talking? Or is
no,
it still?
that's what we're trying to figure out. As a board, do you want to propose, do you want to push off the public hearing one more month, or do you want to close it and make a decision? As a board, not through the board.
I don't know, for me, the only thing that would happen would it have to just reapply and spend the money again. Like he had said, John had said, there's no difference, there's no penalty, there's no agreement, there's nothing to postpone it for till next month. I would move for that. That's what
I would agree, but if they don't give you a full site plan and all the information, then you would have to, you'd have to deny it.
I know, and that's where I'm at. I'm at they've had 3 opportunities already. And we still don't, and John asked them for specific stuff. Well, this, to be honest with you, what date did this actual print come in? Because that print was supposed to be in the town hall last month. And this print that they sent wasn't in until last week.
That's okay, Scott. They can add to it. It's, you know,
There before the hearing is open.
yeah. But you said, Scott, you said something that was on the agenda 2 months ago, because that's what my earlier text was. I could have sworn we received it
We did not receive it. They did
2
not-
months ago.
They didn't show up. They were on the agenda, but they did not show up with an application.
Oh, they were on the agenda like for a pre,
They were on the agenda to present an application, didn't show up with an application.
We
But-
approved, they accepted it last month.
They accepted it last month.
right, but I mean, even if they had shown up 2 months ago, we wouldn't have let them present.
last month, and then they missed this first opportunity at this time. Arguably, because if they had gotten the paperwork the first time, nothing would have happened.
And Taylor, you sent them a notice of public hearing saying when it was and all that?
Yep, and they posted the sign,
Camera
so,
doesn't work, but Juliet, the picture. of
Yeah,
their
they
sign on their
posted the
property
sign
they had
and-
to advertise,
Has
actually says hearing date June 19th at the time.
Yeah.
So it's on the sign on their property that they posted.
yeah.
Let me ask you this, would the residents get another opportunity if we didn't show up?
That's one thing.
Yes.
We would get another
If,
opportunity?
in other words, would it be, if they didn't show up, would they get a chance to come again?
Yeah, would you discontinue it till next month if we didn't show? But we got the notice, so it's the same thing, you would just,
It will just be continued till next month.
Right. Which is common.
No, what he's saying is.
Hey, what he's saying is that if
Oh,
Cameron was here,
yes,
we weren't
you're
here.
100% correct. Correct.
Not all residents comment, so we wouldn't have, you know, sometimes nobody comes, so we have no way of knowing.
Yeah,
But the applicant should be here.
majority of the time, it's the applicant here, and there's not citizens.
Yeah.
Unless it's something concrete.
A little bizarre.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I mean, I've dealt with Pam in other towns. This is not a process she's new to. It's a little
I know.
surprising.
Do we have a phone number for them?
For Pam, I think John does, right?
John, do we have a phone number for
It
them?
should be on the application. I think it's on the table.
Should be on the application form. If it's not, the line should be added.
I have a phone number for her.
Oh, yeah, there is. Can we call that?
John, should we call?
Yeah.
I can. I don't know what she's gonna do.
About what, 7:30?
It's all right. The application's not complete, so she should just come in with a complete application, you know, an actual site plan.
Engineer site plan.
So if we-
Right.
They just get, come that road and come back and do it again, right? We'll do either way, I mean. Thing is,
I was just trying to figure out which buffers applied. It's the 100-foot or the 10-foot around the park. I couldn't figure out
Yeah.
what use to look at. But
Well, yeah, if it's an exclusive campground, there's a 100-foot buffer. I mean, they've retained the 100-foot buffer around the campground area, but not around the entirety of the site, including entrances and exits. But yeah,
but there is another requirement for perimeter buffer.
yeah.
I believe, and parking.
And
lot.
yeah, and the parking lot buffer, yeah. No parking within 100 feet of the property. Which would make that parking lot a little problematic.
Well, yeah, if within the 100 feet, they could probably set the parking itself back, but the area that they've cleared would obviously be. Well, I mean, if you have a driveway out, you sort of need to do some clearing, obviously, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can clear, but I think they would have to put in some sort of perimeter screening if 9.5E applies.
All right, so here's the deal, we all agree on everything as far as the information's not there. I guess it comes back to the simple question, and I know how the two of us feel, and I think the two of you feel the opposite way. I kind of lean towards just denying the application for now. Let them get their ducks in a row, because I don't even think in 30 days they're gonna have what we are.
Scott, you'd have to be prepared with a motion and the reasons why you wanted to deny it, so we haven't even had a chance to.
Well, it's an incomplete application.
Yeah, okay.
To me, it's just like the first time they came, they never even showed. I just think it would be, if they get it in a row for next month, then we would go.
Juliet made a very good comment. And I don't know whether, July is a very tough month,
I agree.
there's a lot of people on vacation.
100%.
So one is for, all the residents that wanna come and speak. And two would be, are we gonna have a full board in July? I would rather deny it now, let them get their ducks in a row and come back to the correct meeting. I mean, we've heard from the citizens.
I have a question, then.
Yeah.
If we didn't deny it and you continued it. We're here to hear what they need. Is there a mandatory download to tell them what they need, or?
John,
should they-
you met with them, telling them what they needed, correct? Yeah, John's met with them, telling them what they needed.
Right, no,
But if you deny it, you're telling them. We denied it because of this.
It's an incomplete package.
I mean, did they get a staff report? Did they get something in writing like this is incomplete, blah, blah, blah?
no, we didn't give it to them in writing. We've been communicating just phone and email and in person. Yeah.
You know, that would be helpful for like part of the record, but I don't know, I could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're going to deny it, their response would be to resubmit. And, whether you charge them a separate new fee and then that pushes them back 2 months because then you have to receive and schedule for a new hearing. I'm not sure what's being gained.
Well, because if it's if they have to resubmit, then they would resubmit for the July meeting. At the July meeting, you'd set the public hearing for August.
Yeah.
And my other concern is this, I mean, obviously they're over there clearing already. What more are they gonna continue to do in the next 30 days, 60 days before they get a yes or no from us and what we'd like to see and what we don't want to see?
But our yes or no won't stop any violation that they may or may not do. They could go-
I get that they're clearing, but they're also clearing
I
the
realize
buffer
that's
zones that
But
they've
if
not.
not, deny it, you know.
That's my concern.
I mean, it is a local business.
That part too.
You could give them that opportunity to, come in next month, and if they don't give you, if they aren't prepared then you definitely deny it, but.
Could we even say like this, the plan, like even their description, it just says creating overflow parking area, but that's it. They don't,
It doesn't say anything
well,
about.
more really, to
entrance
me,
or
the issue is, yeah, the curb cut, the apron. Which is probably the most,
They have no erosion control, they've got nothing.
I'm sure it's a disaster over there, but then somebody should put a cease and desist on that action, but it isn't us with
Here's
this
the question,
application.
that's a stream. Is
Have
any of
they,
the, this didn't come before inland wetlands.
did they put in a curb cut?
No,
But I think that the plan
Not
shows,
yet.
their language doesn't say it, the language.
No, but I mean, did they, you said they were already clearing. I was wondering if they already put in a curb cut, which would add a little more urgency to this.
What we have.
we have.
We don't have it.
But that's all right, because they're telling you that they want to put in that.
Well, they show it.
Just let me know.
On the back of this, it shows, there's no language to it.
And John, is there a road ordinance? Where does it talk about sightlines?
I don't know if I think there is.
It's in our subdivisions, but I couldn't.
No, so I mean, it wouldn't be in the subdivision regulations. It would be a town ordinance, and it goes to the selectmen as traffic authority to approve new driveway cuts.
Oh. Probably should have something in zoning on that. I didn't see it.
No, this.
Yeah, no,
Only years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to, be curious to know what this is.
I can go, I mean. We need to know whether we wanna continue the public hearing or close it and move forward. But we all agree that the information's not enough.
Well, I would make a motion to continue it to the July meeting. That way we can write down all the reasons and it's a little cleaner.
Then they can't get their things till September, so their next meeting till September.
If we continue, then they have to be here next month.
Right, but if what I'm saying is
Right.
if they don't and we deny it next month, it actually pushes them out longer before they can get another one file. Because they have to put in another permit,
Yeah.
wait until the next meeting we have to accept it, then schedule it, then have it, so.
And then they have to wait a certain amount, it's like, how many days after it's posted in the paper before they can actually start?
They can do it right away.
No, they can't.
It's 15 days, it's at your own risk, anything you do, it's at your own risk, but it needs to be posted, but you don't have to have the light. It's at your own risk that you do that. I wait for 15 days, but if nobody complains about it, then
I'm more along the lines of rejecting, but I'm fine with pushing it. 'Cause
I am
think
too,
we might have a
only
big problem
because-
next month with it even
Only because it's gonna speed up their process. Because I'm also concerned that there's other stuff going on that property that really should probably have a cease and desist on.
And also, is this conversation, since the public hearing is technically open, troublesome, like showing bias at all? I mean, I don't know. I'm uncomfortable now continuing to discuss this.
well,
They could show
you know,
us
I mean,
bias and
everything's
work.
been said in public. This isn't, a sort of a backroom discussion, and the meeting's being recorded.
Yeah, I know, but should we be, just make a
Well-
decision?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the information in front of you. You clearly don't have enough information on the site plan to approve anything. So I think this is okay.
Well, your motion's been made. Has it been seconded?
well, her motion was to continue.
To continue it to the July, what was it, 17th meeting at 7 o'clock in the town hall.
I would motion to second that continuation.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Got two, and it's two. I mean, that's the problem.
What was the problem?
We're split decision.
Oh.
Oh, you mean to continue,
Yeah, you guys don't get a vote in this.
Okay.
This is for the board.
All right, right.
I personally think it's in their benefit for us to deny the applications.
Yeah, I respect, like,
No,
I respect the. But just. If it gets denied next month, they lose more time.
correct, exactly, that's what I'm saying, I think it's to their benefit to deny the application due to the lack of.
Well, that's, there's a lot to be
Lack
done
of
here for 4
information.
weeks. And if it needs to be engineered, I don't see that happening in 4 weeks.
No, that's what I mean, so I think the better that they get the bad news and they can get their ducks in a row, the better off they are. That's my.
I'd like to hear from more, like I say, I forget the distances.
John,
Somebody just should make a motion to close the public hearing if that's the case.
John,
Did you guys just not vote on the, you didn't vote on the continuation?
It was
yeah,
2-2.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry, I didn't hear the vote, okay.
Would you be willing to meet with them to give them what needs to be on a proper site plan, please?
Oh, of course.
I make a motion to close discussion.
I second it.
Right?
Wait, what's the motion?
Closed discussion?
Close the discussion for the public hearing. And then we're
To
gonna,
cl-
Are you
You're gonna
voting
close the
for
public hearing.
Hearing or just continuing, or just not talking about it more tonight and continuing it next month?
I'm closing the public hearing. And then we're gonna vote on it.
So did somebody second that?
As soon as they close that public hearing, it can't be open again, it can't be continued, it can't be ended. Why I'm holding off on saying.
Seconded yours.
It's been made to close the public hearing and it's been seconded.
Are we able to continue? We're gonna continue to talk about the continuation or?
We can go into discussion on the application again.
But we can decide after that, which way we're gonna go. I think this is just for the public hearing. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And then we'll be notified of your decision.
So you're gonna close the public hearing, start your deliberations and come up with whatever you're gonna come up with, which we seem to know what you're gonna come up with, but without hearing from the applicant, I don't know, I don't like that, but they did have an opportunity, I will say that.
So the notification the only notification that goes out, they'll receive a letter of the notification, and there'll be a notification. And it will be put on the down list.
And they'll have to put another notice for the next hearing, correct?
They'll have to resubmit everything.
So we,
And come in with a new application, a new fee, new legal notices.
And so it's an expense to the town too. Unless, or I don't know, in Voluntown, do you have the applicants pay the notices?
The legal notice comes out of the application fee.
Oh, which doesn't cover that, I'm sure.
I don't know, how much was that one?
For legal notices now are like $300 post,
Right.
or like one round, like twice. Over it, $300.
So now you have to post a decision and then repost for the hearing and blah, blah, blah. You gotta up your fees.
Public hearings for.
Well,
You didn't vote on it.
Vote on.
closing it?
Yep.
Is that where we send the third or? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Me opposed.
Opposed. Close the public hearing. Okay,
Appreciate you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, citizens' comments was now that they're all left, so we're good. New business, nothing, business, subdivision regulations, there should have been discussion for
You can take that up now. You can, as you know, before you went to citizens' comments, you could have taken up the application
This-
matter.
So you can deliberate and make a decision.
Yeah, I didn't like discussing all that with everybody sitting here. My goal is to turn it down at this point, and there's not enough information. This is the third month it's really been on the agenda. You've met with them, they've met with you. Opportunity, they had all opportunity to be in this meeting.
They posted that.
They
Their
posted
sign.
it. They posted it, they mailed everything out. I mean, there's
Did they know they were supposed to come, though? Some people just know to put out a notice, but
This is again, I've worked with Pam on special permits in Essex and in Deep River. This is not.
and I haven't, yeah, it's not even,
This is not a process she's unfamiliar with.
okay.
Overall, I'm gonna say, we can talk, this is
Yeah,
discussion. right?
this is this.
I will back down and push it out. I just think it's delaying the inevitable, which is next month, either we don't have enough people and it gets pushed, and then it's gone, there's a 60 days. is
Well,
gone.
yeah, the timelines don't work.
Or they're just, I
Well,
see.
They could give an extension, though. They could have.
Don't have a meeting next month, because enough people don't show up, how does that work?
We have to ask for an extension and it would go to August.
Which they would give because
They would
they.
Because they don't want to delay it an extra 2
They're
months.
They would give a letter to town hall.
And that's enough to get us through, okay.
But that's kind of a moot point now. You close the public hearing,
hearing.
so you're not getting any more information. So now your hands are tied and you have to deny it for incomplete. They didn't give you what they needed to give you. You can't make a decision. I mean, other than to deny it. In my opinion. So for the sake of discussion, I would make a motion to deny, I don't know what application number it is, application of Tamarack Lodge for a new parking lot expansion.
Have any of that information.
Yeah, for the reasons that it was an incomplete application.
Have a application number?
For them, it would be, I'm still trying to get the special permit thing online, but it'd be 24-1 special permit.
2401.
So I'll amend my motion to deny special permit number 24-01 of Tamarack Lodge for the parking lot extension. Because of a incomplete application and failure to show to the public hearing.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so three yeas and one. Motion carries. So can you just send them a letter?
Mhm.
And then we're gonna.
I'd love to ask John a question then pertaining to this, but not. Okay, John, did you have to go last month, if I remember, after last month's meeting? Didn't you have to go there and tell them to stop doing some of the stuff they were doing?
We told them that they didn't have authorization to create a road cut.
They're allowed to clear all that land though without permitting?
I think it depended on what they were doing, because I think, you know, the certain regulations for what they were for some of their uses require buffers, but
That leads me to my question.
but that's not a reason to prohibit tree cutting if that tree cutting is in association with essentially a change in the use of the property, which again should have been explained in a narrative or by them personally this evening. But simply cutting trees in and of itself doesn't necessarily throw you in violation of something, but it does require you to come in for the appropriate discussion and permitting.
Were they close to the wetlands?
That's what my concern is, because they're close to that river or stream or whatever you want to call it.
And it's not.
It hasn't come to wetlands.
Did they clear within 100 feet of those wetlands?
I don't know, John's seen the site, I can't tell by this.
I don't know. I haven't seen the wetlands map of the property.
No?
Well, that is shown on that terrible site
in
plan.
I don't think they were doing clearing within 100 feet of that.
There's a wetland for everywhere, and then there's a upland.
Oh, there's the stream right by the lodge. Yeah.
Were they told to go before wetlands or no?
No.
Yeah, that's the other reason to deny this, because without a proper site plan, we don't even know if it requires, like, had they submitted a proper site plan, we would have immediately been able to say, oh, well, before you go through the planning and zoning process, you have to go through wetlands.
Yeah, no, there's a stream corridor that runs right next to the lodge, but I'll put up the, you know, this is neither here nor there because, you know, this is where we're at, but here's, I don't know if you can see the screen.
Yeah.
This is the Tamarack property. You can see the stream corridor that comes, you know, sort of divides the property in half. Any of the clearing was happening over here, which is a couple 100 feet away.
Okay. Do you have the wetlands layer on your
That's
GIS?
yeah, if you can see the wetlands map is on.
So, John, I guess my bigger problem is if they cleared all the way to the road, they've gone through that buffer that's required, correct? For the camping stuff?
Sorry, say that again?
Okay, they've cleared to the road. For sure.
Yeah.
They're in violation of their 100-foot buffer, correct?
They haven't cleared, because this is a multi-use facility. The camping area still has a 100-foot buffer around all of the camping areas. There is not a 100-foot continuous buffer around the entire property.
What about for a special event facility? Are they that?
They are, I don't know. Yeah, I have to double check what the regs say about that. It's not a 100-foot buffer for a special event.
Well, and
I think it is.
things out of the public hearing that I'm hearing is noise problem. Are they in violation for a noise ordinance?
That's a whole other animal.
That's a whole other question. I don't know. And I don't think the town has a noise ordinance, do we?
Yeah, we do. It's actually within our regs.
No.
That's two different things.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there was like, I had jotted down section 9.5E or something. There was like a 50-foot buffering, screening, perimeter landscaping. No parking within 100 feet of the property for the special event. That was in section 10.13, I guess. But again, I mean, they haven't, there's nothing that says you can't clear your land, but they haven't even said what this use
Right.
They don't have an approved use. So it's hard to
I don't know.
notice a violation if they don't have the approved use. It's kind of messed up here because that's why I was asking what is on file for this place.
I don't think there's anything on file, to be honest with you.
I think they should have been made to establish an actual special permit application, like put it all on there. This is where we camp. This is what our events are, what, do the whole thing.
Right. A full narrative would have been useful.
And showing it on the plan that shows that it complies with all the regs.
We do have a noise ordinance, but that's not a zoning enforcement matter.
Have
So
you,
there's
have,
a noise ordinance.
have you been down there? Have you been to the site, John? Are they using this already for parking?
I haven't seen it used for parking. We were there and they were still sort of doing some kind of grading of it.
Shouldn't they be given a cease and desist from clearing the land if they don't have a permit though?
Again, simply
In the absence of an actual special permit on file? I mean-
clearing land is, yeah. It's not necessarily a violation if the uses don't require it, but yeah, I mean, if they're not coming in, if they're not coming forward with a full application, generally speaking, we would issue a cease and desist if they were doing something that required their attention. They had been cooperative in coming in with a special permit application to clarify what's going on and to seek permission.
If they park cars there, they could get a cease and desist.
So,
Well, again, parking.
here's the other
I don't,
question.
yeah, I don't know, because we don't have good records of what their previous and sort of approved standard of activity has been.
Well, so if it hasn't been formally approved, then it's not approved. And that area obviously wasn't used for parking
Right,
before.
but if they've been doing it for 60 years with, and are essentially continuing the use, I don't know if they have historically had 75 cars there during events or 250 cars. I don't know. And there's really no way of determining that. So it's hard to say that they're in violation of something if I have no proof that they had done this all along or not.
Right, but John, if we're telling them they need to come in for an application to create an overflow parking area and other access, and all of a sudden they just start clearing the land and use it as that parking overflow and other access, that's a violation because we told them
Right,
you
because
had
they're
to come
involved.
in.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess you would have to wait until they parked a car there, but
Right. And the fact that they haven't actually technically come all the way is a problem.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah,
anyway.
if we need to issue a cease and desist, then we will.
So
because
do we
this is
have a
still-
special permit on file for the school stuff that they're doing now? Cause you alluded to that during the public hearing, and so that's a question that I have.
Do we
Because
have
that's,
something on file? No, we don't. We just know that it has been used that way historically.
oh, it has.
when?
Yeah, I mean, the whole school thing is brand new that they've been bringing in the school. I don't know if historically that it's ever been used as a school teaching them.
I thought it was like an
It was-
inn resort thing,
Yeah, well,
wedding venue.
yeah. I'll have to go back into my correspondence with how we defined it. It was relatively narrow in that way, but yeah, I'll have to find it.
No, you mentioned that, there's
Schooling there.
special permit for the school, well, they're, I don't know what they're doing, but.
I think-
Really
So,
nice.
yeah, no, so private schools are an allowable use in the district.
But they would have to be
by special
permitted
permit.
to do
Correct,
that.
Which is why they needed to come in, to get all their, to explain what they're doing and
Correct, which you don't
satisfy
have
the
to
zoning.
file either, correct? Is all I'm pointing out. All I'm pointing out is you don't have that on file, that there's no special permit issue.
That's right.
So she should come in with every single use that's there and and whatever the applicable regulations are for each of those uses so that she can just show the whole picture. And because if you're gonna say yes or no to overflow parking, you'd have to know, well, why do you need the overflow parking? Is something changed on this property and how does it fit in with the educational use and the restaurant use and whatever else, camping use? It may not be enough parking, who knows? But
Right.
if it's in her best interest to do that. But moving on to subdivision.
Yeah, subdivision regs, please.
Okay, so, as we discussed last month, we're starting an update of the subdivision regulations, similar to what we did with the zoning regulations. I've started with the first 3 sections. Most of what I'd updated, and hopefully people got a copy of this. Taylor, are the copies there? Juliet, did you get a copy?
I looked at it online.
So, most of the stuff that I adjusted is basically updating some of the language to some of the statutory language that's changed over the last 15 years or so. In the purpose, adding references to soil types, terrain, infrastructure capacity, plan of conservation and development. I've added a number of definitions that I just, in looking at several other municipal subdivision regulations that it seemed to be sort of absent. We hadn't really defined the applicant, the application, certain terms that we've used, cul-de-sac easement, erosion sedimentation, a lot of these things just hadn't been in the subdivision regulations. The ones that I highlighted, I put in conservation subdivision and traditional subdivision. I mean, right now, we basically just have a type of subdivision, a single model. But, wanted to leave open the possibility that this commission would want to consider, more than one mode of subdivision application, more than one mode of subdivision design, rather. Conservation subdivision being traditionally, allowing lots to be developed on smaller pieces of land or houses and setting aside a larger piece of conservation space or open space. But again, in a town such as Voluntown, where 2/3 of the town is state forest, if setting aside a little bit of extra open space is really a priority in the town, and that's a fair discussion, but I wanted to sort of highlight that. And we can talk, if you want me to just go through the adjustments I made, and then we can talk about the substance of it first. I don't know, Juliet, you look like you would say something.
Yeah, I'll wait till you finish it. I have just a few questions.
Okay. General requirements, updating some of this where, there a number of copies were required. We hadn't required anything electronic. Obviously, we're trying to do as much as possible electronic, so we wanted to throw that in there. Updating references to the water authority, payment updates. I highlighted the fee schedule. This has obviously not been updated in, it looks like 18 years. So we may want to update the fees. And I can give you recommendations about what, other peer towns are using. And then a couple of technical details, updating again the regional council of governments, the regional planning agency, just making sure that reference was correct. I deleted the reference to a referral to adjoining municipality. That statute hasn't existed in more than 15 years. They deleted that statute, so I deleted the reference. Changing references to the Wetlands Commission, the Inland Wetlands Commission, and clarifying language about the endorsement of the plan. Mylar being a brand name like Kleenex. We just use the generic term, polyethylene, and then also finally in the timeframe section, the state statutes have been adjusted several times in the last 10 years, 15 years. One time to give subdividers more time because of the Great Recession in 2009, 2010. And the second time they extended some deadlines because of COVID. So I basically just referenced to the maximum amount of time allowed by statutes to kind of make that a catch-all. So, you know, again, this is sort of the nuts and bolts section, mostly technical changes, but the two big open questions are, you know, changing of the fees and whether or not we want to consider a conservation approach also. And I'll let Juliet and anyone else ask questions.
Actually, you can stay right there, just go up a little bit so I can see 3.1 as well. That's good. Okay, so there was something, do you call it the land use office? Because the office of the zoning enforcement officer or town clerk, I mean, is it the land use office in Volantown? Or do you call it something else?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we call it probably the land use office. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, and, you know, it says as the application shall submit or the applicant shall submit an application to the chairman of the commission or the town clerk. I would say they should submit it to the land use office.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there was okay, so in 3.1.2, if it's in excess of 50 gallons permitted, or if it's 50 acres and is intended to contain 2 or more dwelling units, it's got to go to the Public Water Authority. That seems odd. I thought it was like 25 people or, you know, the community well.
Yeah, no, there's different definitions of, you know, like non-public, non-transient, public, you know, community system. But I think they still need to be notified. It's not creating a new public water system unless you hit some of those thresholds. But I think if multiple buildings are sharing a water source, they at least need to be informed.
Isn't that or I don't know if you have UNCUS or Ledgelight up there, but isn't it a UNCUS thing and an exception from the you know, the Department of Public Health if 2 dwelling units are going to be served by a single water supply?
I think there's a waiver for septic system, but I don't think they need to clear it necessarily.
Water to be on the same, septics have to be separate.
Yeah. But
No,
yeah,
not now. An accessory unit, the septic can be shared. It's the water that has to be separate. I thought it had to be separate.
No, I don't think that's right. But I
mean, like for 2 lots.
Yeah. Right, 2 separate lots. I think multiple buildings on a single parcel can share, but if they bump into the number of users, the number of occupants,
I would just look at that to see what the actual.
Yeah, that's fair.
That didn't make much sense to me.
Yeah,
but
I mean, this was historic, so I didn't want to change it too much, other than updating references. But I can verify what's going on.
all right. And then in the fee schedule, it says inspection of sediment and erosion. This I've never seen. Or did you already take it out?
Inspection and supervision? No.
No, it's down below the plus. Okay, there it is. That $30 per lot plus $30 for each acre disturbed. Oh my God. I mean, I don't even know how you'd figure all that out,
Yeah,
but
no, that's yeah.
just bump up the fee.
Mhm.
I would say, you know, like make it 500 plus $25 per lot or something like that, plus the thing. But
yeah.
And then down in, where is it? Oh, 3.5.
Wetlands referral?
Yeah. That word, if the application involves land regulated, wow, that's too big. Does that mean if there's wetland, you know, in light of the changes to the Clean Water Act, what does that mean? If there's wetlands on site, it goes automatically.
Yes.
What is it?
I think that's right. If there's
Okay.
wetlands on site, it does.
So that you're confident that word involves covers that.
We could probably say includes rather. That's probably better.
I would say if an application, or
Contains. I don't know. Well, includes-
involves land that includes,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
wetlands, something like that, but the involved, I don't know, just as
Yeah.
long, if everybody feels like it covers that and it can hold up in court, fine, but it just seemed too weak. And then 3.7 posting of bonds. And pardon my ignorance of some things about the town, but do you have a director of public works that looks at bonds, or is that the selectman in Volantown?
It's the first selectman. She is the director of public works.
Okay, that answered that question. There's a couple places in here. It says the plan shall be delivered to the applicant for filing. Come on, let them come in and get it. Yeah. That is very odd. I mean, they should be in charge of coming in and filing it, because I wouldn't want a situation where they said, well, you never gave it to me to file. I didn't know. That's putting too much on staff. So that showed up a couple times in 3.8.1 and 3.9.
Yeah. So I'll just change that to shall be filed.
Yeah. And then 310.1, it says, except with the approval by the commission of a new application for subdivision, blah, blah, blah. It probably should include resub as well, but
Yeah. Wait, where are you?
it's like the 310.1, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
Oh, new application for subdivision. Yeah, I think so. Let me double check. I think our definition of subdivision includes re-subdivision.
Okay, if it does,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Yeah.
And then surety stuff. I know things changed about, you know, bonds and surety. And this probably hasn't been updated since changes were made of what we're allowed to request.
Yeah. Where is that? That's up.
There's 310.2. It mentions it. It says if commission grant upon a determination of the adequacy of the amount of bond or other surety, but there was another section. It might be farther. It might be farther down in section 4 or 5, but
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
it was talking about a performance or not a I don't know. It was a type of bond that we don't take anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. Okay. Thank you, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, anyone else with questions up that way?
Now, you said you were gonna work on the fees from the neighboring town, right?
Yeah, we could go work on fees and conservation. I mean. Are we statutorily required to have that in there?
No,
No, but we did.
no, you're not. It's just, you know, there's basically at this point, I'm just noting that, you know, a number of other communities, I would say most of the communities have a couple of different subdivision approaches, one being traditional, the other being a conservation or an open space subdivision, cluster subdivision. But you know, it's entirely up to the town how they wish to proceed with that. So again, if this sort of general approach to subdivision, and when you see subdivisions, which is, you know, not that often anymore, but is the general, you know, lot layout, configuration, alignment of properties generally what you wanted to see? And if there is, you know, if you want to enable a different approach, this is a good time to do it. But you know, it's certainly not necessary.
And I have one other thing if they're done with that discussion.
Go ahead.
3.6 action by the commission. That timeline needs to be cleaned up, because you don't have to have a special, you're not required to have a public hearing for a regular subdivision, and that timeline doesn't give, you know. So this is making it seem like you get 65 days after the public hearing no matter what, but if the public hearing is not required, you don't get the extra time.
I think we say that.
That first bit. with 65 days after the hearing thereon, or if no public hearing is held within 65 days after the receipt. No matter what, you've got to make a decision within 65 days of receipt
Right.
for a subdivision, not a resub.
Right.
But that's making it seem like if you have a public hearing, which then you've got the 35 days and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
then it's 65 days after that. I would disagree. It's 65 days, period.
No, that's not right. If it's a resub and you're having a public hearing,
No, a resub, this is correct, but just for a
right.
straight subdivision, since public hearings aren't required, you know how it says in the,
yeah, but you could have a public hearing.
you can, but it won't change the timeline. That's what it says in all the law books.
So if you have a public hearing for a subdivision that doesn't require it, you still need to do it within 65?
Pretty sure. You don't get the extra time.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Well,
Let me-
we can run that by the attorney.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
let
get-
me review that. language. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I'm dog sitting. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that if,
Yeah. No,
I
that's
know
fine.
I've read it so many times, but it could be like site plan. I don't know, something different for subdivision, but
Yeah.
I know there's one that if you opt to have a public hearing, you don't get the extra time.
Okay. All right, I'll take a look. So Scott, I don't know if well, I'll work on updating the fees. Do we just want to sort of put aside the question of conservation subdivision right now? I'm not hearing a lot of enthusiasm for digging in.
We talked about it because of the small parcels by the lakes, or if we wanted to allow something like that again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have something in there. I was just trying to find out if there was something at the state level that they've already like determined some of that. That we could reference to, that's all I was.
Yeah, no, there isn't really. I mean, there is a reference, there is a separate statute about cluster subdivisions. Because traditionally with a traditional subdivision, towns had kind of been guided by a 10% set aside for open space. Even though the 10% actually refers to the fee in lieu rather than the actual acreage, but a lot of towns kind of figure 10% of the acreage also. But there is a separate cluster statute that explicitly says the minimum of open space in a cluster subdivision would be 33%, but nothing prevents the community from going higher than 33%. And a lot of towns have gone 40, 50% in cluster situations. But that's all the state says about it. It's basically just enabling.
Which, I mean, we have a lot of open space, so it's not.
Right. And so the purpose of open space within a subdivision is to provide, parks, playgrounds, and other open spaces that would be necessary to prevent overcrowding based on the new residents, brought
But I
to
think
town.
that they,
And,
I think, go ahead.
and obviously, if there's one thing that Voluntown doesn't lack, it's open space, right? That even if every available piece of land were fully developed in Voluntown, you're still dealing with a town that's 70% forest.
Right.
So that overcrowding really isn't.
Right, I agree with John that I think the cluster stuff would probably be a good idea. So let's say at the far end of town, somebody wanted to do a cluster. They would at least be able to do something.
You would at least have the opportunity.
Yeah, they'd have an
Minimal.
opportunity to, I mean, maybe, is there a way that we could waive it if they do a cluster? Or no, because the state says it's gotta be at least 33%.
Well,
You would need regulations though, because it's more complicated than that.
and so this is basically about building in some kind of flexibility or some kind of option in the reg for future consideration. It's number one, you don't have to do this. You can have just basically traditional subdivision. And number two, if you put it in your regs, you don't actually have to necessarily use it depending on how you structure it.
Okay,
waive it.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that then.
Okay. All right, I'll probably, maybe I'll send around examples of conservation subdivision regulations, just so you can see what we're talking about. That might be a better first step.
And now, John, if I have other comments for the rest of them, do you want me to just put in this Google Sheets? Because I tried that last time, but nobody got them, so.
Yeah, well, I can send you a copy and you can just add your markup on it, Juliet, if you want.
Okay. God, these dogs won't stop licking me.
All right, so that's all I have for now, Mr. Chair. And if you want, then I can go and, so section 4 is plan contents. And section 5 is subdivision design requirements. I would say I can do a markup of 4 and 5 for next month.
Thank you. All right, so next would be correspondence and announcements. Do we have anything? Okay. Staff reports, ZEO report. That'd be you, John.
Yeah, no, I don't have much additional reporting beyond what we talked about. Yeah, Taylor, I'm trying to think of a complaint log. There's nothing significant. There was a gentleman doing some clearing and building using a truck frame to build a pedestrian bridge. And we just wanted to walk him through the process and make sure he wasn't storing his trash along the roadside. So we were working with him, but nothing, no significant zoning issues. I will note for planner stuff, we have selected a bidder preliminarily for the sidewalk design project. That'll be the Freeman Companies, Freeman Engineering out of Hartford. And I believe they are nearing completion on selecting a design for the playscapes that are going behind Town Hall. And those we hope will be installed by the end of September, which is pretty cool. And then we are finally under contract with the state on doing a design and planning study for community water systems in the village and on Beach Pond. I'm sorry, on Bennett. So we are hopefully going to move forward with starting that project in the next probably 2 months.
What's the story about all that water that's next to the restaurant? I mean, I know it floods, but it hasn't gone down yet, I don't think.
Yeah, the health, I sent the health out to inspect, and they said that there was no sewage, so it wasn't really like a health problem, but the whole growing of the water but otherwise I had health check it out and they said it wasn't a health issue, so I don't know if it's, but it is a growing pool.
Like, what happened that it doesn't drain anymore?
It could be just, yeah, I don't know. It could be like a perched water table.
Either way, I was told that there's no sewage and the health looked at it, so.
I don't know, it seems like wetlands should look at it, see if somebody's blocked up the waterway or something. I mean, never did that before. It flooded when it rained, but then it would go somewhere. I was just curious. Not a big deal.
That's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? Motion to adjourn. Second.